The All-Star game, the trade deadline are now well behind us, but we've got another benchmark, special one that you prospect hounds and you fantasy baseball players probably know about. August 15th is the cutoff for these prospects to get called up and still keep their rookie eligibility for next season. Yeah, we're probably going to see a flurry of activity. But as always, we got to figure out who's actually going to get called and who should we really care about in fantasy baseball. So I'm going to try to go through as many names as possible without repeating what I've already talked about. If you watch this every week, you know that every week I tell you which prospects to look for next, who could be getting the call, who you should actually want to stash on your team. I don't want to repeat some of the obvious names, but I will tell you now we could and should see Andrew Painter. Yes, he's the top pitching prospect that you want to stash. No, it's not Bubba Chandler anymore. I don't care about him anymore. All right, but Painter shouldn't be too far behind here. The Orioles, at this point, they've got to do something. And look, Michael Lewis was a little coy, but he basically said, yeah, guys like Dylan Beavers should get their opportunity. I think this is the time. I went in depth on him about 2 weeks ago. And so Dylan Beavers is basically one of your top priorities, especially if you need some offensive help. Are they going to call up Sam Basayo for catcher or DH or wherever they put him? That one's a little trickier, but I will tell you, if Samuel Basayo does get called up, you do want to add him, especially if you're not completely set at catcher. I think we might need to wait a little bit longer on JJ Weatherholt for the Cardinals. This should be more like a September call up. It could be early September. But remember, they're moving him, giving him some experience at third base as well. And so I think they're going to give him a little bit more time in AAA, but it could be a couple weeks away. If you want to stash now, go ahead. But right here, right now, I think some of your priorities should be a guy I actually haven't gone too deep into yet. For the Twins, who we know have got plenty of openings on the major league roster, why not give number one prospect Walker Jenkins a shot? Now, Jenkins' numbers on the year are good, but I wouldn't say they're eye popping. I mean, he's slashing 315, 421, 500, got 6 homers, 9 stolen bases. Doesn't sound amazing, but remember, this is only in 162 at bats. That's basically 43 games at the AAA level because he missed practically all of April and all of May due to injury. And so this has been a short season for him, which is why we haven't seen him yet. He's heating up the right time. He might force their hand. In August alone, he's hitting 378. This is a guy with a very high hit tool. Never at any level in the minors has he had a strikeout rate above 20%, and he walks a ton. Hitting is what he does. He will hit for average. He doesn't have an extremely high power tool or speed, so you won't see necessarily gaudy counting stats. But man, when a guy just knows how to get on base, that means he scores runs. He will do a little bit of everything, and he'll do it pretty well. So yeah, if Walker Jenkins does get the call, he's viable in all redraft formats. Now, how about a familiar name? Yeah, Christian Campbell for the Red Sox started the season with a big club, got paid, and he was even drafted in some leagues. People thought this could be a sneaky Rookie of the Year candidate. And no, he wound up getting sent down after a while. He wasn't that bad, but it was obvious he needed a little bit of work adjusting to major league pitching. So I will say this with Campbell, I think a lot of people maybe getting carried away. We want to see him back up. Sure, I want to see him back up. Kid has a ton of talent, but he's not exactly lighting it up in the minors either. I mean, he's doing better. I will say that. At the major league level, in 229 at bats for the Red Sox, he hit 223. Right now in AAA, he's hitting 267. He does have a 396 OBP, so that's definitely encouraging. And the second half, so he's done a better job of getting on base. But again, we're not seeing elite power numbers. He's not stealing a ton of bases, so this may not do the job for you necessarily in fantasy, but he's still a very intriguing prospect, especially what if they decide to try him out at first base? That's part of the deal, is trying to find a position for him. It's tricky because the Red Sox now are looking like a playoff team, and we didn't expect that early in the season. So a lot of ifs here with Campbell. I would just say at least keep him on the radar because we know the kid is mega talented. Another repeat here was several weeks ago. I mentioned another Red Sox, Justinson Garcia. So the password, he's slashing 303, 370, 581 on the season with 16 homers at the AAA level. This kid looks ready, right? Looks ready to contribute. The question again is where, right? The Red Sox now all of a sudden seem pretty set at most positions. One of their problems now is they maybe have too many talented outfielders. I don't think they're going to try Garcia at first base, although they probably would like to. So this is kind of that sticking point where he's still there, but doesn't have a clear path unless there's an injury. Hopefully not. But we've got to keep him on the radar because maybe they just call him up to get him some at bats as a fourth outfielder, as a DH, and injuries always happen. Another club still needs help at first base, and now definitely just needs help overall. The San Francisco Giants seem to be slipping out of the playoff race, barely trying to tread water at 500. That offense was helped by Rafael Devers, but he is not exactly locking down first base, and we know he doesn't want to play there. Is it time for Bryce Eldridge? It seems like it is. Another guy, I wouldn't say necessarily going crazy in the minors. I mean, he's hitting 252 at AAA this season, but he has also improved. He's hitting 324 in the month of August with 5 homers and 16 RBIs. So now he's starting to make the case that, yeah, he's ready. The one thing we don't know if it's ready or ever even will be ready is the defense. He might actually wind up being a liability as a defender, but at this point, they might have to take that trade off. Do they really want to roll with Dominic Smith the rest of the season? Guy that you cannot play against lefties, a guy who also isn't necessarily a defensive whiz. I don't know, but I feel like Eldridge, his time has got to be very soon, if not right now. The big downside here is just the fact that he's in San Francisco for a left-handed power hitter, and power is definitely his calling card. Yeah, Oracle Park, the second worst park factor for home runs for left-handed hitters. Let's just hope he gets a lot of road games in. And I want to sneak in a couple of prospects that did just get called up. In case you're wondering, the Giants actually did bring up Drew Gilbert. I expressed my dissatisfaction with the Mets. I don't understand why they gave away not only Gilbert, but 2 other decent prospects, not super high end, but still 2 guys that were, top 25 prospects plus another just to get a left-handed reliever rental for 1 season. I understand you need a good bullpen to win, but I just don't understand giving up young talent for that. So Drew Gilbert is now a Giant. He is now on the Major League Ball club for the Giants. And so far, well, I mean, he's not exactly proving me wrong. He's won for his first 13, but hey, we'll give him a little bit more time. Gilbert, also another guy who has one necessarily standout tool. He can kind of do it all, though, slightly above average in terms of hit and power and speed. He can get you a little bit of everything. The power may not be there in San Francisco, as I mentioned, but if he can get on base, he could be a factor for them. Right now, he's just hitting ninth for a Giants offense that's not exactly chugging along. So I'm not going to say go out and add Gilbert, but this is a guy who could make a role for himself down the stretch here. And then some people have asked about Kyle Karros. If that name sounds vaguely familiar, that means that you're old enough like me that you've been watching baseball for a while. You remember Eric Karros, former first baseman for the Dodgers, power hitter for them, was a pretty good slugger for a while. And yep, this is the son, and it's even kind of eerie how alike they look. So Kyle Karros, oddly enough, not really a power hitter though. I mean, he hadn't flexed a lot of power even in the minors. Now he moved up quickly across levels this year in the minors, so that might have something to do with it. And you got to figure, of course, whatever power he does have will play way up in Coors Field. So far, doesn't have a homer, but look, he's only 4 for his first 15. He does have 3 RBIs. And look, there's definitely a path here. Ryan McMahon is gone, so Karros could be the answer for them at third base for the rest of the season. So this is a little bit intriguing here. I mean, this guy is at least on the radar as far as prospects, unlike Warming Bernabel, who like for what it's worth, he's actually doing something himself. And so Kyle Karros, sure, I don't feel like he's going to pop off, but when there's opportunity, there's also some potential. All right, go ahead and beat the breakout. Try to stash those prospects now before that August 15th date. There's going to be a lot of activity still to come. Got only a few weeks left in the baseball season, but you've got to stay active. I'm going to keep telling you that. I'm going to keep giving you my waiver wire pickups also. And look, sometimes there are some veterans you might want to consider dropping or at least benching. Check out this week's panic video if you haven't yet.